Hello everyone, it's Sean Bishop of Bishop Instruments and Bows, my dog Mop. Today we're talking about famous Parisian bowmaker Victor Fetique. He was born in 1872 in Mirecourt, where, as you will know from my previous videos, most bowmakers and violin makers seem to have been born. He died in 1933, which is worth thinking that it was, 15 years before, almost 15 years before Sartori. So he had a very small working life. He trained early in Mirecourt, so probably at the age of 13 or 14, he went into an apprenticeship with Husson and Charles-Nicolas Bazin. In 1901, he moved to Paris to work for Caresse en Français. So you will find a lot of bows that are stamped Caresse en Français, and they are made by Victor Fetique, but also you'll find them made by Thomasin and also Victor Fetique's younger brother by 3 years, Jules Fetique. Now, in 1913, he set up his own workshop in Paris, and when you think that it was only 20 years he had his shop, because he died in 33, set up in 13, in those 20 years he worked extremely hard and very fast. At some stage he employed his brother, Jules Fetique, his son, Marcel Fetique, André Richomme, the other great 20th century bowmaker, joined him in 1927, 28, worked for him for 5 years. So there were a number of bowmakers making bows for Victor Fetique. So also there were four or maybe even 5 makers in Mirecourt making bows. Very unknown makers that we don't know that much about. We don't have really photos of their own personal work, but they were churning out bows for these workshops in Paris. But of course, at the end of the day, you need someone with the eye and the skill, and that was Victor Fetique. I'm very lucky. I've got 3 bows here: violin, viola and cello. One problem with Fetique also, he had 5 different brands, so that's the stamps. I have a viola bow here, stamped Chanot and Chardon, so he made bows for them. Then we have a normal cello bow, stamped Victor Fetique et Paris, it's a cello bow. And then we have another bow, also stamped Victor Fetique et Paris, with his normal stamp. Now, because he had so many outworkers, he had various qualities of bows. We had so his own personal work, which is very high quality. Basic things to look for. The head is often quite small. When I see a Fetique, it's just a little bit compact compared to some of the other more open bow forms that you can see. The work is always very refined, very accurate, very neat. When it drifts from that, that's when you start thinking, okay, is it a workshop bow? And so a lot of these bows would be described, by Mr. Raffin in Paris as workshop or of the period, or made, stamped by Fetique, but not made by Fetique. And those sort of bows, when you look at them, they have issues. Nothing looks so perfect about them. Anyway, that's a little overview. So you think Fetique, his best years were about 1925, sort of 1920 to 1930. 1925 was always a great year. He made a lot of very beautiful bows in gold and tortoiseshell, gold and ivory, exposition bows, which he made for big exhibitions around the world. You even see some bows that have the fleur-de-lis motif mounted in gold and tortoiseshell, which are incredibly beautiful and very collectible. But an underrated maker in some ways, because he didn't live for that long. I like Fetique bows myself. They always seem to work, particularly, like I said, his own personal models. But a maker that I always look out for is Victor Fetique. If you can't afford a Sartori, go for a Fetique. Okay, bye-bye. See you next time.